We'll call the regular meeting of the New Ulm City Council for Tuesday, October 20th, 2020 at 4:30 PM to order. First item on the agenda is public meeting notice. We don't need to cover that one. Everybody's here. We'll go on to item number 2, consent agenda items. What's your wishes?
I'll offer a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items. Any discussion on any? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 3, public hearing on the final assessment rolls for the 2019 Utility Street and Alley Improvements Group 1 project. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. President, City Councilors. Joseph said I'm interim city engineer. Tonight before you, we would like to conduct the public hearing for the final assessment rolls for the 2019 Utility Street and Alley Improvement Project. I guess it'd be my recommendation we go project by project and see if we have any comments from the public. In our office, we've received a couple phone calls, no written letters or emails of objection.
I did just receive
Thank
them
you.
right before the meeting,
All right.
and I don't know if I'll speak tonight.
All right. We'll go, first one is Front Street from 7th South Street to 13th South Street. Anybody here like to be heard? Second one is 2nd South Street from Broadway to Washington Street. Nobody? Number 3, Spring Street from 20th North Street to 21st North Street and Prairieland First Edition. Anybody? Please step up to the mic. Give your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Dan Magas here, and we got a shed down here on 2003 on North Spring Street. And I guess what I was wondering here, we're getting assessed here. I thought they told us it was going to be like $180 a foot, and which on 200 feet would be about $36,000. I got a bill here for like $53,000, and I was wondering what the difference is on that.
Joe?
The difference between the initial assessment and the final assessment was the just the increased cost over what we anticipated for the project. The initial assessments are based on our estimates at that time, and the actual construction costs came in higher than what we anticipated, which increases that assessment cost as well.
Anything else? Yeah, any other questions, Dan, on it? Or that answer?
Well, that seems like quite a pretty big difference. That's what I was wondering. I can understand a little difference, but it's like almost $50 a foot difference, or $70.
Was it in our estimate, Joe, that, or how was it, or what?
I'd have to look back at the preliminary rolls. I didn't bring those down with me, but the assessment cost was about $195.05 per foot is what that construction cost came in at. So it was more than what we anticipated, but we kind of saw that across the board with our projects.
So what was the difference again from what our estimate was until what he got billed?
I guess we're just getting a question from Joel first. If you can't find it, you have it, I think. Oh,
I just got the total bill.
okay.
Or maybe my general question then, Joe, is that whole area went way over budget?
The whole
That whole
2019 project as a whole went.
as a whole went, but what about that
Construction.
specific area?
Well,
Did
yeah.
that go that went over more than the other areas?
No, it was uniform across the board for all the project locations, but just with the unit costs that we received.
So what percent did it go over?
Did
Did you have a guesstimate on that? It sounds like almost 40% from what he was saying.
It wasn't that much from our engineer's estimate to what we received for big costs, but it was at least in the teens or close to 20% over.
Ooh.
But That's, I think, a lot of that was due to the complications of the project in 2019 and 2020. We just saw, and then just material costs the last couple of years have really went up as well.
Now we have another gentleman. Go ahead. Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, it's Justin Hendricks, and it's 43879 520th Street, North Mankato. And my question is how it's decided on. We have 113 feet on that property, and we're being assessed $30,000 some odd dollars, which is extremely high in my opinion. And what I've been told is that the owners on that street pay 100% of the cost of this street. Where all the other projects on this list, it's billed 18% assessment. The refuge recycling is down there, whatever, is down there. It's a busy street for general population. How do we get stuck with paying 100% of the cost of that street? It's not fair to us. It's the entire public is using it. I think that's just a very unfair way of doing it. So that's because $30,000 for 113 feet is excessive, in my opinion. 30,601. So I guess I can ask if somebody can say why are we not being assessed 18% like the rest of the projects?
Joe?
Mr. President, City Councilors, the in-place development agreement for Prairie Land First Edition stipulated that any public improvements that we undertake as a city, as 100% of that cost is assessed back to the adjoining property owners on that project. So the assessments were levied according to that in-place development agreement for that development.
Well, how long's that development agreement been around?
Since the property was platted, so probably, I think that was 2012-ish or so when that was
10 years
2011
ago?
to 2012, somewhere in there. So it spells out in the development agreement that
Obviously something you didn't know about.
Absolutely not. And other owners on there didn't know about it, and which would have been nice to know, but how does the city make a special deal like that with the developer? That is not a fair way to do it by any means, that they get this special deal to develop that and pass that on to us. That is
Mr. President, if I
Go ahead, Roger.
Excuse me, if I could just mention, I think that what the city engineers described is a very standard way of the city handling new developments. And that development agreement would have been recorded as a matter of public record at the courthouse. I don't have that agreement with me tonight, but most of them indicate that when a developer sells property, they're supposed to include reference to that development agreement on the deed. And a buyer should have a title exam done. They should know that the agreement is in place. It should be referenced usually in the deed. And so you kind of want to notice that this is coming. And I think this is something that's actually been pretty uniform for all new developments in the city for decades. So this is not anything that's unique to this particular situation.
Well, you were involved in this particular, when I purchased this property a few years back, and it was never.
Oh, could you step up to the mic?
This was in your office when we made this transaction with Leon Kroll, and this was never brought to our attention. But it seems to me that if we're going to bear 100% of this cost, why don't we get a vote and say, hey, we don't need this pavement to go to the refuge cycle. There's buildings there. There's no day-to-day businesses. There's no houses. They put a sidewalk in there that should be built to the Parks and Recs because nobody's going to walk on that sidewalk unless it's to go to the walking trail or whatever it is. So this should have been if we're going to pay 100% of it, we should have a vote on it if it even gets done. It just seems like if it's common, it's new to me, but it's not a fair arrangement whatsoever. And I wish the council, or I'm asking the council to look at it again and see what is fair, is why this is really a public street going back to there, is that it should be assessed at the 18% as everybody else.
Thank you.
I'll
Joe?
just add that we did have a pre-project public hearing that city council ordered and the improvements for that location back in spring of 2019. So there was opportunity provided before we constructed those improvements for public comment.
Thank you.
Joe, what was the basis for starting the project? Was it that the lots, the property owners requested it, or
It's
it
within
was
it's
once it
within-
got so far developed?
Yeah, it's in the development agreement that when it reaches a certain development percentage, generally it's 50%, but most of those lots were developed, or there's few that are vacant, but when that triggers trip within the development agreement, that allows us to go in and make those improvements.
So basically, over a course of 10 years approximately, it got developed.
It
and then-
developed, there was
and then-
buildings built on the parcels, and we went forward with the improvements.
Do we have a lot of these properties like this, or areas
A lot of the new developments in town are set up
set up the same
the
exact
same
way?
Yep. Yep. The assessments out there got larger because they're larger parcels. They're not a
Right.
smaller residential parcel.
Is it treated differently if it's residential versus commercial?
In the new development, no, it's still that, well, it depends on each separate development agreement, but generally, yes, 100% is borne by the adjoining property owners. Similar to like Sarah Hills Third or Sarah Hills Second Edition that we've recently done as well. 100% of those costs go to those lots in the development that benefit.
That would have been like the Dakota West then also? Would that be
Yep,
similar?
correct. Yep.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Yep.
Anybody else like to be heard on that one? Not, we'll go on to number 4. Spring Street from 19th North to 20th North Street. Alley Block 136 North of Center Street. National Guard Armory and FMS. Shells Road. And number 8 is concrete sidewalk and ADA improvements. Seeing none, that concludes the list for the public hearing. If anybody else wants to be heard, go ahead. Step up to the mic, name and address.
With all the traffic through MR, nothing against MR at all, but now when that road has to be redone because all the heavy traffic, who's paying for the second round? Us again?
Joe, go ahead.
You know what I mean? Because
Yes, I know.
It's heavily traveled.
Well, I hope that's not within my career that we go back there, but it generally would be levied against the adjoining property owners that benefit, but it won't be at the new construction rate. It'd be at our, whatever that rate is at the future, that's our reconstruction rate,
It'll
similar
be
to.
reconstruction rate, whatever it
which
is.
You know, like on a typical residential parcel, like the 2020 rate is $3,600 as opposed to the full cost
Okay.
for a new street. So then it's really just a surface reconstruction as opposed to street lighting, sidewalks, all this restoration and things of that nature.
But we can't guarantee that's what it'll be in 20 or 30 years from now.
That's very true. Yeah,
Joe, did we build that road up to be a little heavy dutier?
we did. Yep,
in-
it has
in
an
case-
increased section for truck traffic. It's kind of a 10-ton route as opposed to a 9-ton route.
So that added to the cost then too, or that was factored into your original estimate?
Yep.
There again, this is not the same project as a city street where they put down 3 inches, you're putting on 5 or 6 inches. We're one business.
You want to step up to the mic, please?
So there again, ours is a unique situation that you're adding cost to this project because it is such a public use. That otherwise a city street, you would not have that 10-ton designation, correct? You'd put 3 inches of biameter down for a public street?
Not correct.
Nope.
Our normal, generally, a normal residential city section is 12 inches of gravel, 4 inches of bituminous. The city then change anything from the original plan. We put everything in per the original plan with the original developer, which had that street section noted with 5 inches of bituminous, 18 inches of gravel. So it was, and the gravel base was already in place from the utility construction, so we graded the gravel and then constructed bituminous base, curb and gutter, and sidewalks. But that was per the original development plans that were submitted by the developer.
Was M&R the original developer? Yeah. And because of our heavy equipment, I'm sure that's the reason they put that in.
Yeah, that's correct. They plan for that section
Right.
during their development stage.
Once again, I think that's unfair to the rest of us that I don't have anybody on there with 10-ton equipment.
Right.
And neither probably does anybody else.
I
So there
agree.
again, it's
But the only thing is, the developer, the one that developed the property, knew he would, so that's why he designed it the way he did, I would assume, so.
So would he have to put that in these sales agreements, that this is a special situation, that this is not gonna be a normal assessment because of the 10-ton road?
Well, Mr. Hendricks, when you mentioned, doing a closing or something in my office, I'm not sure, I don't specifically recall that. Whoever, again, this development agreement was recorded. It would have been referred to in any title work that you would have had, and it would have had all these specifics that the engineers described. And, how much the seller explained to you when you bought it, I do not know. But, this is there. And I think the problem is, when we're putting in a new road as part of a new development, this is customary. And with prices going up, it's becoming more of a problem. But it's a new road, and it's just all these other people who've purchased properties in a new development have had to pay this. So it's just kind of been the policy of the city for new developments.
Well, we pay $10,000, a little over $10,000 a year on that property every year for that. So I think this $30,000 is excessive, and it's a unique situation, and I really would implore the city council to look at it and think about it, that it is, we are being unfairly expensed for that, even if it wasn't at a, the agreements or the legal paperwork, I can't read them and make sense of them. I gotta have you to do that.
Joe, did you receive any other written or phone conversations with any other?
Few phone conversations, but nothing written.
How many are on that street that would be affected by this?
There are 18 benefiting parcels on that section of Spring Street.
I do have one question, Joe, for you. I don't remember, at the December 18th meeting, 2018, when the property owners are notified, were they also notified then that they will be responsible for 100%? I don't remember a
At
year
that
ago.
meeting, they're giving the preliminary, the December 18th meeting was the capital improvement plan.
Right.
At the public hearing, they are given the opportunity to ask what their estimated assessment would be. Yep. But we don't list that in the notice because we don't know
Right.
what that's going to be. But we have an estimate available at the meeting should we be asked.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Anybody else like to be heard? I guess my comment is it's kind of out of the city council's hands. It's been determined in the development agreement, and I know where your guys are coming from, but I don't think there's anything we can do. And as far as one of the comments, I know that the street was built for going to the recycling and stuff, and if that's what it was built for, they would have never needed the 5 inches on there that was put on. It was actually put on there, I would believe, because M&R Paving, and they're the ones that wrote the agreement, so I don't think it would be right for us to change it, and my comment.
I do know at this council, we've had discussions about businesses and homes living on the same street, and sometimes the assessments that we get complaints about from homeowners who live next to large businesses, and everybody, and some of those without the agreement paying the same amount, but yet it's these larger trucks that are causing the damage on the roads, and we've had that discussion here briefly, and I wonder if, we have what's called work sessions here on the second meeting of the month, and I wonder if we shouldn't push this topic to a work session and have more discussion on it to make sure that we're fair when we're assessing people, and make sure that we drill down this topic a little bit more and have more dialogue on it and hear more from the engineer perspective. And some of these agreements, we got to make sure that they're public and that the word is out, and we're doing the right thing and making sure people are aware when you're purchasing property that you know what you're getting into. And so I think our president is right. We don't have a lot of options tonight, but I'm going to offer the resolution, waive the reading, and close the public hearing, and adopt the final assessments for the 2019 utility street and alley improvements, Group 1 project payable over a 10-year period, along with a 3.4 simple interest charge on the unpaid balance. And I'm also going to add to that we add this topic to our discussion in the very near future, that we can have some more discussion on this topic and see if there's a better way of doing business with this. I think that's something that we should really take a more serious look at.
I'm going to second that, and I'm going to just, my thoughts are, with this developer, they might have, I don't know what the price was for the lots, but they might have looked very attractive at one time. Here you can build your shed or your building that you need to, and then there's the fine print, that you're going to be responsible once we receive, 75% or 80%, that, we're going to put the road in, and you're going to be charged for that. And it might be with that work session that we may have to look at these new developments for the future, and 10 years might not be enough time. Maybe we might have to go out longer on that, maybe go to a 15
That's the kind of stuff I think we need to have.
And I
more
think we're going to have to
dialogue on.
discuss that for the future here, so.
I'll chime in also. I'm going to agree with Councilor Schultz about bringing that to a work session. I don't know at what point, I'm just going to use like $100 a square foot. That's what running foot you were told. And we do come on 25, 30% higher. What are our options to somebody? I mean, I'll admit myself, I was told $100 a running foot, and all of a sudden it's 128. That's a lot to absorb. And yet I agree it's in the development agreement. That's why I'm also going to support it. It was in the development agreement. We can't backlog on that, but.
Well, I mean, with discussion with it, is it a possibility that we do it in a phase, and that might be another second phase to put in the sidewalks, at a later date, so that you don't have an upfront cost. Nobody wants another bill, but break it up or something, but.
Or depending on the area, are
Correct.
sidewalks really needed,
Or if it's just on one side
Need to
versus
look,
two
yeah.
sides.
Exactly. Yes, step up to the mic, please.
As your hands are tied with this agreement, I would ask, is there a possibility the city council could do something with this overrun then? Because it is 20-some percent, or is the city absorb that overrun and help us out a little bit?
Thank you. Dan?
One thing you mentioned about making it a longer term, and I was wondering, is that something you could change to make it a 20-year term instead of a 10-year term?
Good.
To spread it out a little bit further? Or, this
excuse me.
road should last more than 20 years, I would
I'm
hope.
not sure that we can push it 20 years. I do not
I
believe.
think we're limited by bonding laws and
Right.
rules there. That would take some research. I'm not exactly
Yeah.
sure what those rules would be.
Or even 15, I'm just something,
Yeah.
I guess I got the question to Nicole. Is that something that could be looked into?
The payback period on the
Yeah.
assessments? I can ask that
I mean-
question of the bond attorney.
Is it possible to,
Bring that topic out of the work session.
or can we table it and extend it?
That was my question to the
I don't
city
know that
attorney.
we could do anything with this one because
bonds
those
are already
bonds
sold.
have been signed and
Right.
put in place when we paid for the project.
Okay.
I think this one needs to go forward, and I will mention to the council, I'm currently working with staff on a new development agreement for another subdivision, and one of the things we're addressing is responsibility for these types of assessments. And normally, we would be treating it as the same as what happened in this development. So if the
Okay.
council really wants to take a different direction, the sooner we would know that, the better. So.
Thank you. Any more discussion? We do have a motion to close the public hearing and approve the street assessments. Any more discussion?
And a work session.
And a work session, correct. Seeing none? Nicole, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 4, temporary permit, or license and permits. Temporary on sale liquor license for State Street Theater, and that's for November 6th, 2020.
I'll offer motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 5.1, 2020B general obligation sales tax revenue bonds. Nicole?
Council, this is just asking basically for permission to sell those remaining renew bonds that were authorized by the voters in 2016. It will be about $7.7 million that will be issued. At the next meeting, those sale details and preliminary offering statement will be also up for your approval.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading, authorizing issuance and establishing the terms and conditions of sale and set a sale date for November 17th, 2020 at 10 a.m. in the amount of $7,745,000 for general obligation sales tax revenue bonds, Series 2020B.
I'll move it, or second.
We got a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
President Schmidt?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5.2, 2019-2020 weed snow removal assessments. We have them in front of you, if anybody's got any questions.
I'll offer the motion.
Okay.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5.3, early invested application from Christopher Wyman. And that's from the fire department.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
City Councilors, Joe Stedding, New Ulm Fire Department, Relief Association. This is just a normal procedure we go through when we have a member retires before fully vested at 20 years. Chris served for 11 years and.
He meets all criteria?
Yep.
I'll go ahead and approve the motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you for your fire service.
Item 5.4, residential rental fire inspection agreement. Chris?
Council President, councilors, the mayor of Hanska had approached the New Ulm Fire Department to do fire inspection services within their city limits. The fire chief put together a proposal, submitted it to the Hanska mayor. They had kind of pre-approved it, so then we had sent it to Roger's office to draft the agreement. I think it was last week, last Monday at the City of Hanska council meeting. They approved the agreement, and so we're bringing it before you to make sure that we can execute and authorize that agreement.
Chris, does this require any additional staff to do this job, or
No.
how many more units is this to add on to their responsibilities?
I think it was 18 total units that he would go out, and it would take about 2 days. So the fire chief is going to go out and inspect those properties.
So I thought last I heard that we were way behind on inspecting rentals, and now we're gonna take on more. We're not behind?
Paul,
Well,
Caught up?
got a couple questions. That's something you can handle?
Yeah, that, 17 units, like Chris said, that we're probably looking at maybe 3 days. Maybe a little longer at the beginning, but 3 days should be fine. But
Where are we at with our inspections?
our inspections, we gave them the option this year
Okay,
on whether they wanted to be inspected or not, just because of the COVID. We get that some people are, have some health issues or, that kind of thing. So they got the option. I think we've done, oh gosh, I'd have to look. It should say on how many we have year to date on our administrative report.
oh,
I think we submit that every month, how many year to date we have.
so next year, we would probably go back to
Next year
inspecting
we're
all of them again.
Well, not all of them. We do them every other
2
year.
years.
Every other year, okay.
Yeah. So next year we'll probably do roughly 800.
Total.
850.
And we can get
We
that
have a
done.
total. We have a total registration of, I believe, 1,650 units,
Okay,
somewhere in that neighborhood.
and you feel confident you can get that 800 done?
Yeah.
Okay. And my other question is, does the city of Hanska have their own set of rules for their housing units? Or are they just going to abide by ours?
We sent over our.
yeah. It'll be by the fire code is what we'll be inspecting. And
They're
then
the same everywhere?
they would have to enforce, they would be handling all of that. We would just be handling the initial inspection and giving them a report.
They were supposed to adopt the state fire code, and I'm assuming they did. So
Paul, do we currently do any other cities or just New Ulm?
just New Ulm.
Just New Ulm.
It's similar to the building department. I mean, we're over in Cortland doing their inspections.
That's where I was
I just
getting
want to
at.
make sure
That's
we
where I
were
was getting
taking
at.
on more than we could handle, and that was my concern. So hearing that, you don't have an issue with that, I'll approve the residential rental fire inspection agreement between the city of New Ulm and the city of Hanska.
Second.
I'm gonna, one more thing on it is just, if you feel you're overloaded, are you gonna bring that back to us, that if you can't?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And, Mr. President, the agreement, as we drafted it, it can be terminated on 30 days' notice.
Okay.
So if
Is that
there
right?
gets to be a problem from New Ulm's perspective, we can get out of it pretty quickly.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5.5, New Ulm Fire Department donations.
Offer the resolution, waive the reading to accept the donation to the fire department from Christensen Farms in the amount of $200.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to offer resolution, waived reading, accepting the donations. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5.6, tobacco-free, I always get this on my page. Tobacco-free parks, trails, and recreation facility policy. Who's up? Who wants it? Tom?
President Schmitz and councilors, you have before you some information that the Park and Recreation Commission has been considering for 2 months. I don't know if Park and Rec Commission member and City Councilor Dave Christian wants to discuss this. We also have committee member Carissa Bugler from the Park and Recreation Commission to discuss a tobacco-free policy for park and recreation facilities. If you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to discuss those. You have the proposed policy in the packet that we would anticipate or recommend become effective with the new year, January 1st, 2021, if the council so desires.
I guess I got a question. Are these policies pretty across the board for a lot of cities?
Yes. Councilor Christian?
Well, actually, I was going to say, Carissa would be able to fill you in on all those details, and after she speaks, then I'll back her 100%.
Go ahead, Chris.
Council President, councilors, my name is Carissa Bugler, 1418 10th Street North here in New Ulm. I am a committee member of the Park and Rec Commission. I'm also on the leadership team of the Heart of New Ulm initiative, and I'm an employee at Alina Health. and I strongly encourage you to consider adopting this policy. We brought, it's fully supported by the Park and Rec Commission. We had a small committee, including Brown County Public Health, Counselor Christian, and Assistant Attorney Tom Borgen. And we used a template that was recommended through Public Health and is very similar to what other cities across the state of Minnesota. Again, no level of secondhand smoke is safe in our community, even when it's in the outdoors. The litter that is left behind is dangerous for children and for animals, and it puts an added burden on our city staff. And parks are intended to be a healthy place to do healthy activities and be a healthy environment. And this policy or this ordinance that we are presenting to you supports creating all of our park and recreation spaces tobacco-free, both any type of tobacco, smoking, or cigarettes, chewing tobacco, e-cigarettes, all of those would not be allowed according to the ordinance that we are proposing tonight.
Carissa, can you talk a little bit about cities around us that have these policies in place already?
Yes, so many, I think it went back into the 1980s that cities across the state of Minnesota have had similar type policies. Some are strict policies where they have there's fines for not following the policy. That's not what we're proposing tonight. We're proposing just an ordinance, but the city of Shakopee, we looked at other communities our size as well. I believe that
We're proposing a policy, not an ordinance.
correct. Okay, thank you. Not an ordinance. Thank you for the clarification. So I think that one of the cities we looked at was the city of Alexandria as an example, but there are many examples across the state, and I can share those with the counselors that
What
we
about
used.
like in our 30-mile radius? Who's
I can't answer
Don't know
that for you
Okay.
off the top of my head.
Okay. So did your commission talk then about, if we approve this tonight, what the cost is for all the signs and all that kind of stuff that's going to have to go up and public notices? And
Yeah.
was that a discussion item?
Yes, great
Can you talk about
question.
that?
Our intent is to secure grant funding to help pay for the signage that would be posted at the city locations. There are grant funding available for this very specific.
So if it goes into effect January 1st, that's just a couple months. So you think you can get grant money that quickly?
We'll try.
Gonna try?
One item that was discussed, okay, January 1st, I mean, granted, it'll be a new evolving policy and whatnot. January, February, March, I don't see a whole lot of people standing out in our city park smoking.
No.
So that was the time frame we had used for that, to obtain the grant money.
Okay.
Again, a comment I want to make, the subcommittee did meet, we went over numerous policies. Some cities actually do have an ordinance, where it's actually ordinance, they can be fined if they're in violation of it. And again, I'm the only smoker sitting on this Park and Rec board, sitting on the council. I'm also in favor of it. An example, any high school event, Johnson Park, Mueller Park, Johnson Football Field, it's no smoking anyway. If you look at those high school events, right now, they cannot anyway. Right. So like at Harmon Park or out at North Park, when there's a junior baseball tournament going on, head of the sidewalk like all of us smokers do, that's where you can have your cigarette. Not allowed to do it sitting in the stands or on the playground equipment. Again, I'm a smoker and 100%, 110% in support of the policy.
Yeah, I certainly support it as well. And so you work so hard on it, you want to make the motion?
Oh, I got to read the next one. Come on. Okay. Adopt and propose the tobacco-free parks, trails, and recreation facilities policy to become effective January 1, 2021.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Just thanks to your commission and your hard work on this project. I know it's, like I said, it's taken some time to get to this point, and thank you to everybody that worked on this.
Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Good luck.
Now, since you
Thank
made
you.
me do that one, Les, you want this one?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
5.7, Park and Recreation donations. Go for it, Dave.
All right. Come on. Offer the resolution and waive the reading, accepting donations offered to the city of Nome through the Park and Rec Department as outlined. North Park Baseball and Harmon Softball Park improvements, $5,000 from KNUJ's award of the Minnesota Twins 2020 Radio Affiliate of the Year. That is fantastic that KNUJ actually put in for that grant. We got it, and it's going to improve our ballparks. We really appreciate that. Okay, German Park Amphitheater. This is an all cash towards the $100,000 matching pledge honoring Janet and Terry Dempsey. $1,000 from Chuck Spath Ford, $500 honoring Vietnam veterans and fulfilling pledge from Grady Hubbard, Laura Hubbard, Nolan Hubbard, Victor Lombricht, and Ophelia Lombricht. $250 cash from Darren and Carissa Bugler, $200 from Joyce Myers, $100 cash from Tony and Marie Gugesberg, $100 in memory of Bert and Dolores Hammerschmidt from Luann Hammerschmidt, $50 from Mary Rouse, $300 from Pat and Nicole Eckstein, $1,000 from fans of Magus Family Band and the Magus Family Band. $300 from Carl and Sandy Zeidler, and $100 from Patrick Detman Thompson. Okay, in memory of Norman and Linda Whelan, $50 cash from Norma Hansen, $50 cash from Chuck Whelan, $50 from Gloria Fensky, $50 from Ron and Joyce Rodewald, and $50 from Norman and Cindy Whelan. German Park Pavers, $200 honoring Esther Radke from Marlene Hesse, Dick and Diane Hesse, Jan and Tom McClure, Kay and David Roth. $200 honoring Stan and Marie Wenhorn from Cheryl and Jamie from Cheryl Boisman. $200 honoring Naomi Albrecht Peterson from Suzanne Totman. $200 honoring Dale and Benita Kruger from Scott and Terry Kruger. $200 honoring Uncle Sidney from Lyle LaRue, I believe that's right. $200 from Patrick and Detman Thompson. Okay, Minicon Park Barbecue Girls, $600 from the New Ulm Optimist Club. So the total donation is $10,950 in cash.
Isn't that wonderful? I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to waive the resolution accepting these donations. Any more discussion? Seeing none? Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5.8, Amphitheater Shade Structure. Tom.
Thank you, President Schmitz. Tom Schmitz, Park and Recreation Department. Counselors, you have before you a request to authorize the city manager to enter into one or more change orders to the existing German Park Amphitheater project. The state of Minnesota has finally moved forward on a bonding bill that included funding for the German Park Amphitheater. The House of Representatives passed it last Tuesday, October 13, and the Senate passed it on Thursday, October 15. It was presented to the governor on the next day, the 16th of October. The governor has up to 14 days to sign the bill. The bonding bill has not been signed yet by the governor, but it's anticipated that he will sign it. And upon doing so, we will be awarded up to $300,000 in a grant from the Department of Economic Development deed through the state for the shade structure component, which is phase 2 of the amphitheater. Phase 1, the base structure is complete with over about $950,000 in donations, private donations from the public and funds from the city through the Park and Recreation Department and the EDA, Economic Development Authority. Phase 2, the shade structure should be funded by the state of Minnesota of up to $300,000, and then phase 3 is out in the future yet, improvements to the stage area. That would be fundraising to continue with the Friends of German Park. So it's good news. We've been working on trying to get this from the state of Minnesota for 6 years. That's 3 different bonding cycles, and we're very happy that both our representative and senator, Representative Torkelson and Senator Dames, voted yes in their chambers for the bonding bill. And we're very fortunate to have this. And I recommend that you authorize the city manager to move forward with this element of this project for a regional performing arts center in German Park.
Thank you, Tom. You made a comment, and maybe you just stated it wrong, up to $300,000.
Yeah, I was going to.
Yes.
Is
yes.
it $300,000 or what is it?
It's a $300,000 grant. But if, for instance, the shade structure component doesn't cost that much, we might not be able to actually get the full $300,000.
Okay, so this amount is strictly for the shade structure, whatever that cost is, up to
Correct, the
300,000.
shade structure system. Yes, to
Okay.
include, the various components of the shade structure and lighting and so on.
And do we have a backup plan if it comes in at 390,000?
Actually, the
asking.
bid that we opened up recently, this past few months ago was closer to $200,000. So we think that 300,000 should be plenty to complete this component.
So what impact is this gonna have on our pledges of 100,000, 200,000 by people that matching?
The $200,000 matching pledge has already come in and been deposited and spent. The $100,000 matching pledge in honor of Janet and Terry Dempsey, I talked to that anonymous donor on Thursday night after the Senate passed the bonding bill, and that party said they will put the check in the mail on Friday. I haven't seen it yet, but I anticipate that $100,000 check arriving this week and being deposited in the account in the finance department.
So that'll be used for the amphitheater itself, not for the shade structure?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, this is pretty awesome news. I'm going to go ahead and authorize the city manager to sign one or more change orders totaling up to $300,000 for the German Park Amphitheater project, to include the shade structure system if the governor signs the 2020 Minnesota State bonding bill into law, including this funding.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Mr. President,
Roger?
if I may interrupt, the only question I have is, with the nature of the timing of the grant, and depending upon when the work would be done, will the city be paying for it and then getting reimbursed from the grant?
President Schmidt's counselors, Attorney Hippert, that may be true. That may be true. I have to work that detail out with DEED in the state of Minnesota. It may be a reimbursement grant. Correct.
Okay, then when you mention, I think in the motion, this is authorizing proceeding with this phase, were you going to get new bids? Or is the old bid still valid at this point?
Yes, it would be through a change order. Simply the original bid is still valid.
Okay, and then, I don't know, when we would get the grant, is this in the budget? Do we have funds to pay this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this will certainly.
It would just come out of fund balance. I mean, for that temporary use, if we were going to get reimbursed,
Okay.
we're more than covered there.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Nope. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks, Tom. Great
Thank
job.
you.
Item 5.9, grant application splash pad resurfacing. Tom?
Thank you, President Schmitz and councilors. This is simply a request to allow the department to apply for a grant from Life Floor Incorporated. This is a specialty flooring company whose aquatics division provides specialty flooring to aquatic centers, both indoor and outdoor. This is the type of soft, spongy type flooring that we're going to have in our new aquatic center, the Renew Aquatic Center at the Recreation Center. And this grant program is for splash pads, outdoor splash pads. And so we hope to apply for this grant to see if if Life Floor will come and install it for free of cost, their flooring system on our existing splash pad in North Park. And so it's simply asking for your permission to apply for the grant. If we're awarded the grant, we would come back to further discuss the future of that with you.
Thank you.
And a comment, at the October 12th meeting, the Park and Rec Commission, they recommended put in for the grant, but they were also told that it's our option if we don't get the grand prize, free, nothing is free, but the second or third place, 50% discount, 25% discount, we still have the option not to accept it.
Right.
Like if we gotta pay 50% of this, right now, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable doing it.
Correct.
If we do get this opportunity, Tom, you'll bring us details to like life expectancy for these products and,
Yes.
how it's gonna hold up in the elements
Yes.
on that aspect and then
Mhm.
replacement.
And if we, as Counselor Christian mentioned, if we're awarded second or third place, which would require a local matching amount, there's a possibility that one or more donors may fulfill the local match as opposed to city funds.
We certainly know this has been a very popular splash pad addition to our community. Anytime you drive by there this summer, you heard the squeals of the little 3 and 4-year-olds having a blast at this park, and certainly would be a little safer if they had a safer foundation and floor surfacing. So I'll certainly offer those resolution, waive the reading, authorizing the grant application for life floor surfacing on the splash pad in North Park. It doesn't, commit us to any funding, just for the application. We'll see what we can do. We'll see how good of a grant writer you are.
Thank you.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive the reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. We do have an addendum for the meeting, so I'll need a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll offer a motion to, how do we say that again? I forgot.
Suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules to take
addendum.
on the addendum. Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 1, performance evaluation for the city manager, Chris Dalton, which took place after the Tuesday meeting, October 6, 2020. And I think Roger wants this one. He has been quiet all night.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under the provisions of the Minnesota Data Practices Act, or the Open Meeting Law, rather, the New Ulm City Council proceeded with a closed session at the regular meeting on October 6, 2020, to evaluate Christopher Dalton, the city manager, who was present during the evaluation. That meeting was closed, and under the requirements of the open meeting law, the council is obligated to present a summary of its conclusions. And the terms of the summary were discussed or presented to the council, and they've authorized the following to be read into the record. That the conclusion of the council was that Mr. Dalton is doing a fine job as city manager, and his performance continues to improve as he acquires experience in this position. Council understands the difficulties he has confronted since the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, which have increased the demands upon his time and energy to address additional issues that affect the city, its citizens, and employees. Council did express the following job performance goals to be accomplished by Mr. Dalton during the next 12 months. Number 1, to complete the revisions of the New Ulm zoning ordinance, process that revised ordinance through the Planning and Zoning Commission for ultimate consideration by the City Council. Number 2, the completion of an informational booklet for members of the City Council, particularly any new members who may be joining the council, to assist them in understanding the duties of their position and city operations. Number 3, to continue to work with the Assistant City Manager to improve her job skills and performance and to evaluate the results of those efforts. Number 4, to pursue options and any opportunities to assist parents residing in New Ulm to meet their needs for providing daycare for young children.
Thank you, Roger. I suppose we just need a motion to accept it and
No,
I'll offer a motion to accept and file this evaluation.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. But no more business, meeting adjourned.